Welcome to She Coaches Coaches. I'm your host, Candy Motzek, and I'm going to help you find the clarity, confidence, and courage to become the coach that you are meant to be. If you're a new coach, or if you've always wanted to be a life coach, then this is the place for you. We're going to talk all about mindset and strategies and how to, because step by step only works when you have the clarity, courage, and confidence to take action. Let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of She Coaches Coaches. I have another amazing guest for you. Her name is Cindy Van Arnam. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Cindy. She's got this really cool bio, and then we're going to start the episode, just get a little bit of her story about how did she start, where did she come from? How did she get to where she's going? So let's start with the bio. She is a rebellious, badass leader for conscious business owners who are sick and tired of living according to the status quo and playing by other people's rules. She's all about blending magic, mystery, and the power of the universe with some good old-fashioned get shit done energy. She's not going to teach you to sit on your patio and stare at butterflies to manifest your big dream. And she won't be having you sit around singing Kumbaya. So with over 7 years of, she says it's infatuation with universal laws, numerology, and emotional resilience. She's driven by an unnatural obsession with helping her clients become so resilient, shatter their glass ceilings, and achieve extraordinary results. She's an International Film Festival Award winner, a 10 times best-selling collaborative author, Network of Outstanding Women Rising Star in 2021 award winner, and she's been featured on Amazon Prime, The Family Channel, Pursuit 365, The Power of Pink Summit, Squirrel TV, and well over 100 podcasts. So this will be like 101, right, Cindy?
Something like that.
Yeah, she helps intuitive entrepreneurs find their clarity, confidence, and simplicity in business so they can focus, find their unique rhythm, and get paid for their gifts without burning out. Cindy, what a bio, and welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm really excited for our conversation today.
Yeah, and this is the second conversation that we've had because I was on your show, and
yes.
You know, there's something kind of magical about doing these interview swaps. It gives me a chance to kind of know a little bit more about you. And I have to say that I'm really happy with the order that it went in, meaning you interviewed me first because I was like, oh, that was a great conversation. And I came away from that interview going, I really am looking forward to this next conversation with Cindy. So again, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here. Can we start? Just give us a short version of how you got to where you are in life. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, you bet. Well, the short Coles Notes version. My dad passed away when I was 16 years old, and it was very sudden, and I was there when it happened, and it ripped my entire life apart. And from there, you name the bad decision, Cindy made it. I ended up in deep cocaine addiction for 3 years, where I was going without food or sleep for over a week at a time. I weighed about 100 today. And abuse, you name the type of abuse, I've experienced it. And being the rebel, I did not go through formal treatment to get clean. So my mom had always been there. My family was like, kick her out of the house, tough love, make sure she goes to rehab. And my mom just refused because she knew that that wouldn't work for me. My mom, my angel, she kept just saying to me, I love you, but I don't love your actions. And it was finally, after 3 years, I finally heard it, that somebody loves me. And I decided to pull up my big girl pants. And instead of going to formal treatment, I moved to a country that had the death penalty if you do drugs. So I moved to Jakarta, Indonesia. And from there, started on my personal development journey and started cleaning myself up, started discovering what it was like to, have emotional resiliency and take your power back and all those pieces. And over the course of several years, and again, more bad decisions in that, because we're never just perfect overnight. I've now come to this place where I help others get through their trauma, move beyond their trauma, and develop a business in the online space that is a true expression of who they are without burning out and without reverting to old patterns.
Wow. So you really, like as I hear you describing your life, you've really walked that hero's journey for yourself. And I have to say it. I'm so sorry that your dad passed away in that way.
Thank
And
you.
I'm so sorry to hear that you had such a troubled time, like such a hard time. And yet, I know that on the other side, all of that journey made you who you are today. And so just
It absolutely.
recognizing your growth publicly, but also like from a place of compassion, like, gosh, I'm sorry that it had to be so darn hard. Right?
Thank you. And I think, like you said, these things make us stronger. They make us who we are. And this is what I mean by moving beyond the trauma. When I look back at those times of my life, I look back at it with absolute gratitude because it did make me who I am today. It made me strong. It made me resilient. And it made me, the person I am that shows up who's experienced these things, but is no longer held back by these things. And so when I think about my dad, I just light up. I just light up because I got to have him for 16 years in my life. And there's no more of the, oh man, that happened to me. I just don't feel or think that way anymore. And that's what it looks like on the other side.
Yeah, it's amazing. So anybody who's listening, you might be going through a tough time and you can listen to Cindy and see that there is the other side here for you too,
Yes.
no matter how difficult it is. So part of your bio has this very interesting phrase in it. And it's the phrase that unnatural obsession and years of infatuation with universal law and numerology and emotional resilience. And the place that I love to focus on today is numerology.
Yeah.
Emotional resilience is like everything. I get that.
Yes.
But I'm really fascinated about this numerology piece. Can you talk a little bit about that? And what is that? Where does it come from? Tell me the story.
Absolutely. So, right as I was starting my online business, I started as a virtual assistant. So, I was doing all the back end stuff, the websites, the funnel building, all the tech that not a lot of people love. And I was burnt out. I was working 15-hour days, 7 days a week, just hustling because that's how I grew up. I grew up on a farm with work ethic. You just do the thing. And I had this belief in my mind that if I just worked a little harder, I would magically break through. That wasn't working. I was in adrenal fatigue. I was miserable. I hated my work. I was drinking myself to sleep every night. My fiance, well, not my fiance, my boyfriend and I at the time, our relationship was just falling apart. Things were not good. They were not pretty. And I met this woman who just started talking about numbers. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. That sounds a little woo woo to me. I'm like, nope, I'm not into this. I had read the Bible front to back, the Quran front to back. I had studied religion, but I'd never really gotten into the quote unquote spiritual space. But there was something about what she was describing. And I started listening to her. She was doing a Facebook Live every single morning talking about the numbers. And I started listening and I was like, hang on a second, there's something to this. And it really started to resonate with me. So I booked a reading with her and it changed my whole life. It was as if somebody had seen me, the truth of me, for the very first time. I felt witnessed and I felt like I had come home. And it was within 6 months from there that I completely tore apart my business, changed business models, and started being more forward facing because what I was doing was hiding myself behind the scenes. And it's all over my numerology chart that I'm a speaker. I need to be in the public eye. I need to be creating an impact in the world. And I hadn't seen that. And well, maybe when I was 5, I saw it. But throughout the trauma, I forgot who that person was. So the numerology really brought me back to the truth of who I am at the core. Now, I use 2 different systems of numerology to support my
Before you go
client.
on, there's a
Yeah,
couple of things that are really
sure.
fascinating to me. So the first is the power of that moment of being completely seen and your existence validated, and how in that one moment, that transformation changes everything. Like,
Yeah.
so from a coach's perspective, I think about what that can be like for a coach witnessing a coaching client to
Mhm.
really, really see them and how important that is, right? Like we
Yeah.
can't understate the importance of that. And then the
Yes.
second thing, and I don't know if you can answer this or not, right at
Mhm.
the beginning, you said there was something about her, and I don't quite know what it was. There was something that caught your attention, that did something. Do you have any idea what that was? Like, what was that precursor to having that moment with her?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of universal law that explains this. When we are seeking something, we have an intention that we want to create something more for ourselves or improve something in our lives. Our little spidey senses, whatever you want to call them, go out into the universal quantum field and they start seeking out the things that are going to help us get there. And that could come in the form of people, a book falling off the shelf, a hawk flying through the sky, and all of a sudden you have an epiphany. I mean, it happens in all these strange, unexplained synchronicities, but the universe is very much hard at work finding you the things that will lead you down the path that you're meant to go on. And so she came into my world and there was a resonance. It was like the magnets coming together, right? So it was created this law of resonance. Looking at your face, there's something happening
Well, I'm
there.
just giggling because I work in my she shed, and every time there's a really powerful something, I have a hummingbird feeder outside, right? And the hummingbirds are
Yeah.
always back and forth, but the hummingbird is sitting outside my door, flying, staring at me, right? So I'm like, okay, we
Yeah.
got the answer. Somebody else needs to hear too, right?
Right? I don't
Yeah.
even need to explain that, right? Because that's that resonance where those little signs, those little synchronicities, if we're paying attention to them, will lead us down the path that we're meant to go on. So she came into my world, there was that resonance. It was just like I was just drawn to her. And it was something that I couldn't stop myself. There's that unnatural obsession. It was like, I just need to know more. Tell me more.
Yeah. So this place of desire and curiosity is a real great sign for when we're really being attracted to something.
Yeah.
The other thing it just reminds me of is this, this saying that says what you want wants you. And if what you want is to have more of yourself, to live a more in aligned life, it sounds like such a couple of words, but they're really meaningful. When you really, really want that, the universe is like, yeah, here it is. Here's an
Yes.
idea. Here's an idea. Here's an idea. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's so amazing that you can put it down to that idea, because there's going to be lots of people who hear your message and go, oh, is that what that means? That's
Yes.
somebody saying, hey, I've got it. I've got something to help you. That's wonderful. So talk more about the numerology part and
Yeah.
you're going into the different kinds.
Absolutely. And thank you for interrupting me. I kind of sometimes go off on tangents and just keep talking. So I use two different systems of numerology. One of them is the more traditional system of numerology that most people who've heard of numerology are familiar with, and it is the Pythagorean system. So Pythagoras himself was the original, the OG numerologist. And he started to see how the numbers have certain frequencies and how they affect our energy centers. So I work with that system, but I also work with a system that there are only about 1,500 of us on the planet who do this type of work. And it's with what we call the Book of Life, but it is a deck of playing cards. Now, you can Google this, but you're not going to get a lot of information and it won't be accurate because there's actually only one book, actually now two books on the planet that exist around this particular system. The Mystic Test book is one of them. And a few of my colleagues who do this system have also created another one called Decode the Deck. But the deck of playing cards has created so much accuracy in our ability to see patterns and see what's possible for, and I support my clients with creating content based on this system. I use this system to help my clients really understand what's possible for themselves so that they can set goals that are beyond what the thinking mind can reach for. I use a system to help people plan out launches because we can look at the energy that's going to be in place with that launch and when to really go for it and when to take that pause, when to step back, when to take an extra nap because you're going to need it in the middle of a launch, those types of things. And yeah, that's where I geek out. That's where I get super obsessed is with using the deck of playing cards because that's to me is where all the answers live.
Cool. So is there a place if somebody says, well, that sounds interesting, is there like a starting point, something that you can share just now that they could actually take a step and learn something, try something?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. If somebody's interested in learning it, I do have someone that I is the only person I would recommend for teaching it. So reach out to me and I will connect you with her. If you're curious about how it works in helping you with your business and doing those types of things, I have a Facebook group where I do a weekly numerology forecast for the week ahead. And I'm tapping into the energies based off of the numerology that's going to be occurring every day and kind of give you, tangible things to do in your business that will align with this energy. Obviously, we can't always play by that because the world is worlding. But when we try to do these little things that are in alignment with the numerology, you start to see the rhythm of it and you start to see the flow in it. And instead of just hustle all the time, go, 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 when there's particular days where you're going to be feeling maybe a little off, you're going to be feeling your feelings a lot more. And so, yes, still do the things that need to get done, but also maybe hot bubble bath might be just the thing for you today. So things like that. So I do that in my Facebook group every week. It's also on my website as well, where I share that publicly. So
Cool. Cool. So does it start with somebody's like their birth date to your, is that the place that you go? Okay. And so how do those systems differ? Like you've got the Pythagoras version, and I mean everybody knows who Pythagoras is if you've done grade
yeah.
9 math. And then you've got this other. So like how do they come together? Like, or how do they overlap? Yeah.
Yeah, so the numbers themselves have this frequency. So the Pythagoras system of numbers itself and the meaning of them, you can't really figure out the meaning because frequencies are always moving. But the understanding of what those numbers are, if you look at a deck of playing cards, there's numbers on them, right? So in the deck of playing cards, we have 4 suits, the hearts, the clubs, the diamonds, and the spades. So those have separate meanings, but then when we layer the number in on top of the suit, we get this completely different meaning. And the court cards, the jack, the queen, and the king, they also carry a numerical value that we can look at. And so we just kind of layer those two together. It's very much an intuitive science. It's definitely not something that you can just memorize and have it all figured out. Trust me, I tried. It doesn't work that way. It's very much a feeling of like when I pull a card from a deck of playing cards, I can feel it. And then words just start coming out. It's definitely something that's very intuitive.
So there's almost an element of you draw the card, but part of the magic of it is that you're grounded, centered in yourself, and it's like the card is the messenger for the message in a way.
Yes and no. So it's fascinating to watch because I'm friends with a lot of people who do this system because we've all kind of learned in a similar community. And depending on who the person is, the interpretation will be different. So, for example, I carry the energy of the 5 of diamonds. So I come from the perspective of the diamonds energy, which is very much the physical plane, our values, what's most important, money, self-worth, those types of things. And if someone is, say, a club, they carry the energy of a club card, they're going to be more mentally focused. They're going to be thinking about communication, expression. And so if we were to pull the same card, we're going to interpret it differently because we each are different humans and everything is perspective. So we are interpreting it through the filters of our own perspective. So you'll get a completely different reading from 3 different people.
Right. Because you as a 5 of diamonds is going to read that 5 of clubs differently than if somebody who's the 10 of spades is looking at that because you've got a different filter. Cool. All right.
which
What
is why you
question?
can't Google
Yeah, what
it.
question needs to be asked here? What's the next thing that would be good for everybody to understand?
Yeah, I think, it's great to have all this information. And I've had a lot of people come to me and say, okay, I got this numerology reading, but what do I do with that
Right.
information? Right. And for me, it layers in with using the 6 stages of divine timing. So, divine timing is a universal law that all humans, it's ingrained in nature. We can watch it happen through the seasons, through the birth of a child, everything. And so when we can understand and leverage our numerological influences through the lens of these 6 stages of divine timing, everything changes. And this is the number one thing that has changed how I do business, how I operate, how I avoid burnout, how my clients are rocking it and making all sorts of good things happen in their business without burning out, and how I have all these awards on my shelf because I've set intentions and then I use this system to really help me go after what I want without killing myself in the process.
Yeah, it's like it's easier to push the rock when it's already rolling downhill, right?
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
so
Yes.
wait till you're at a downhill before you start pushing hard, because otherwise the rock's going to roll right over top of you instead of
Yeah.
instead of getting
That's
any
such a good
momentum.
analogy. I love that.
Well, it's just kind of the way it hit. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Tell me a little bit about how you teach your clients to use their divine timing. How
Yeah.
how do you start with them? Like if there's a newbie that just comes in and says, "Okay, what do I do?" Get them to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it starts with first understanding what these 6 stages are and what to do during each stage. Now, first thing to be aware of is that you will never fully understand the law of divine timing. It's next to impossible because it literally runs the entire universe and we have a limitless universe, which means you can never fully understand it. I've been doing this for 9 years now. And I still question sometimes when I'm like, what time is it? Right. But the first thing to know would be those 6 stages and what to do with them. So if you'd like, I can share kind of an example of what
Sure.
that looks like.
Yeah, that
Okay,
would be great. Yeah.
perfect. So it's a cycle. So obviously it's going in a circle. There is no starting point. But for sake of conversation, we start with awareness. So I've got an intention. I want to experience, let's say I want to experience a $10,000 month in my business. That's the intention. Okay, I am aware that I don't yet have that. I am aware that I'm very uncomfortable that I don't have that. I'm aware that I feel separate from that, but I'm also very curious as to how I might go about creating that. And so in awareness, you're in this experiment stage. It's like the brainstorming stage. Oh, I wonder what. I wonder what this might look like. What if I tried this? What if I did that? And you're Googling and you're researching and you're doing all the things. Then that moves you into the next stage of divine timing where you move into a stage of acceptance. Now, acceptance is usually one that people like to skip over because it's going to require you to feel all your feelings and the blame and the shame and the guilt of, oh, I haven't done that yet, and I haven't been taking the right actions, and I haven't been behaving or thinking or acting in the way that I need to. And so there's some forgiveness that needs to occur during that. But acceptance is also accepting what is. Okay, I've created this where I'm not making 10K months. And acceptance of what is, what can be, what will be. I will create 10K months. When you come to that acceptance stage and the gratitude for what will be moves you into the third stage of divine timing, which is self responsibility. Also, the stage that so many humans like to skip over because we think, I've heard this so many times, well, if the universe wants me to have it, then I'll have it. All in divine timing. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
If you don't take responsibility and pull up the big pants, the adult pants, and take action, it's not going to happen. We don't just sit on the patio and stare at butterflies. We've got to do something because you're an active participant in this process. So self-responsibility isn't hustle. It's not go get a million things done, but it is a choice point, a decision. And not a decision from the mind, but a decision in every single cell of your body where you are a full on yes. this will be mine. I will make 10K months, period. No ifs, ands, or buts, no question, no excuse, nothing. Which then moves you into the next stage of divine timing, which is activation. So in activation, now you're moving, you're taking action, but you're not just doing things for the sake of doing things. You are figuring out one step of the how without needing to know all of the hows. And you're taking that one step and then finding out what's next. And then taking that one step and finding out what's next. And your intuition is popping. And it's like, go to the park for a walk. And you're like, but I have to build this opt-in. And your intuition is saying, go to the park for a walk. Go to the park for a walk. Because you're probably going to run into somebody that's going to help you, or the hawk is going to fly over and you'll be like, oh, totally, I get it, right? You'll get those synchronicities. When you start doing enough of those things for long enough in the activation stage, it leads you into momentum. So you've been connecting, you've been building the opt-ins, you've been doing the sales, you've been reaching out to people, you've been doing the things you need to be doing to hit that 10K month. And then you move into momentum. And now it's moving. Your calendar is filling up. People are buying stuff. Money's coming in. And you go, I can't handle it all. Yeah. It's too busy. Which is where I see a lot of people sabotage. I'm not ready to receive this. It's too much. And so we shut down and we stop taking action. And in momentum, I always refer to it this way. Momentum is busy and things are happening all over the place. And it's as if when you see a rocket ship take off, when you see a rocket launch, there is smoke and debris flying everywhere, but you're the rocket, not the smoke and debris. So focus on where you're going and what you're doing, and don't worry about smoke and debris. It's just entropy. It's falling apart. Don't worry about it. So, but we have a tendency to go, oh my God, that's happening, and we get off track. So we need to stay focused during momentum, which then leads you to transmutation, which is the final stage of divine timing, which is a point where often people miss as well. And this is, holy crap, I had a 10K month. And people just keep going because of momentum, and they just keep going. They don't celebrate. They don't honor the journey. They don't take a moment and go and integrate. I am now a person who makes 10K months. And what will also happen is all of a sudden your calendar just empties and you're like, oh, I've done something wrong. No, you haven't. Momentum is not meant to last. It's meant to be a very short, rapid period of time, which moves you into transmutation where you celebrate and then you go back into awareness, and now you go after a 20K month.
Right. Or a 10K month, but only working 3 days a week. Right.
Or that, or whatever
like you get to choose, right? It's not always more. Sometimes it's less too. Sometimes there's more fun attached to it.
Yeah. Cool. Whatever it is that you want, it's all yours.
I like that. That is so great. All right. So you take these 6 divine timings and then you meld it with basically your personal energy, and then whatever the current energy is. And then somewhere together, you create this synergistic system that helps you understand when is time to move forward, when is time to take a nap, when is time to go and play the piano. Okay. And all of this is happening while somebody else has got their system going. It sounds like fun.
Yes.
It sounds like fun.
It is fun. It is fun. And this divine timing cycle, it runs through every 7 days, every 7 weeks, every year, every 7 years, your entire life cycle. It's layered through all these different stages of your life. So I use it with like a product launch or an offer launch, because 7 weeks is the perfect period of time to start doing that and use that system. So you're going into a launch without burning out. And you're coming out of the launch with success without burning out. And I use it for the weekly rhythm because there's things we got to do in our business every day, but there's also things that you can do in your business to create more rhythm and more flow so that it's just simpler and easier. And when you tap into this cycle throughout your week, it's magic. Feels like so magic. Cool. It's science. But.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. I can catch the kind of the glimpse of it. All right. I can't think of any more questions. And I think that this is a really good time for you to talk about the freebie that you're offering for people because it all kind of goes together now, right?
It sure does, yeah.
All right.
So I do have a Activate Your Weekly Divine Timing Cycle workbook. And in this, I break down some of the tasks, some of the things that you need to be paying attention to during each cycle of divine timing. And so if you take this workbook and you start journaling in it, and yes, it's filled with journal prompts, you start to catch the rhythm. And I've actually had a couple of clients reach out to me and they say, oh my God, I've been using this workbook for 2 months. I get it. And they've started to map out their weekly activities in their business based off this divine timing cycle. And it's created so much ease for them. And they come to me and they're like, oh my God, I'm getting better night's sleep. I'm not so stressed out anymore. I'm not trying to do 20 million things every single day. And it's just created a lot of ease and flow for my clients. So you can grab that absolutely free from my website.
Super. And you've also got a podcast and a website. Would you share that with the listeners? I'll make sure to put the links in the episode notes as well, but maybe just share with them where they can find you.
You bet. Everything can be found at fullblastcoaching.com. You'll find the link to my podcast there as well. My podcast is called the Life at Full Blast podcast. And the latest episode will be with you, Candy, yourself.
Wonderful. Oh. Thanks so much, Cindy. All right. Wow. I have no more questions for you. I'm fascinated. I'm going to check into this myself. I think it sounds very, very interesting. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us this week. I know that this is going to be one of those episodes that people are going to be like, about it in that way. Curious to try a different way. How can I make it more fun, more energized, more ease, more filled with flow? Right?
Yes.
That sounds like
one of my rules is complication is not the way of the universe. If it feels hard, there's definitely an easier path.
Okay. I like that. All right. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining me. Okay, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me this week. And I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed the conversation. I'll be back and talk to you again next week. Hey, it's Candy, and I am so glad you're here. Thanks again for tuning in and listening to this episode. Now, before you go, don't forget to take my How to Find Your Best Coaching Niche quiz. You can find it at coachnichequiz.com. That's coachnichequiz.com. Talk to you soon. Thanks again for listening today. Please hop on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Also, I would love to hear from you. Did something that I say resonate? What else would you like to learn about? Click the link in the player and leave a comment on the post. This is going to give me great ideas for future episodes so I can help you best. Join me again next week for more coaching, support, and teaching to help you become the confident coach you are meant to be. Hey, it's Candy, and I am so glad you're here. Thanks again for tuning in and listening to this episode. Now, before you go, don't forget to take my How to Find Your Best Coaching Niche quiz. You can find it at coachnichequiz.com. That's coachnichequiz.com. Talk to you soon.